Hello there, it's Luke from My Future Self. Welcome back. Okay, if I was to ask you, are you a mouth breather or are you a nose breather? What would you say? Are you conscious about whether you're breathing through your mouth or breathing through your nose? And does it really matter? Well, to keep this video as succinct as possible, the short answer is it is incredibly important how and where you breathe. So again, to cut a long story short, it's important, vitally important, to breathe through our nose and then out through our mouth, rather than breathing through our mouth and then through our nose or through our mouth and backwards and forwards. Now, if you're one of the 50% of the population, plus 50% of the population who are chronic mouth breathers, then this video will be of some interest to you. Also, it'll be pertinent to you if you are suffering sleep issues, if you are a chronic snorer, suffer sleep apnea, if you suffer mild depression, if you are slightly anxious. Also, if you are struggling to maintain or to get the ideal body composition, this video may be pertinent to you, particularly if you are a chronic mouth breather. Now, in short, it is essential that we start working and being mindful and redirecting our breath through our nose and out through our mouth. Now, in this video, I'm just going to be talking about three reasons why it is incredibly important to nose breathe, and I'll give a fourth reason as to why it is such a great thing to start practicing, because it entails another thing that we need to be doing much more of at the same time, so we can sort of habit stack this whole concept of nasal breathing over mouth breathing. So I'm trying to keep these videos as short as possible. So to begin with, one of the main reasons why we need to breathe through our nose is purely and simply that this thing here on our face is a filter. It keeps pathogens out. So the more we nose breathe, the healthier we are going to be. If we rely on our mouth to breathe, we'll be much more susceptible to illness and to infections. Number two, nitrous oxide, or NO. Nitrous oxide is a super critical compound in our body, and it's all about vascular dilation. The more vascular dilation, more nitrous oxide we have in our bloodstream, the more vital we're going to be, the more energy we're going to have, and we're going to be more virile. If you think about vascular dilation, we think about Viagra, the pill. All Viagra does is it increases the nitrous oxide levels in our body. We can increase the nitrous oxide levels in our body six times by breathing through our nose and out through our mouth. Breathing through our mouth creates very little nitrous oxide production in our body. So if we want to develop that beautiful nitrous oxide, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Number three, if we are suffering anxiety, depression, mood swings, if we can't move that last bit of weight, then it could be down to the fact that you are a chronic mouth breather. Now, what happens when we breathe through our mouth primarily? It triggers our sympathetic nervous system. If our sympathetic nervous system is triggered and constantly or regularly elevated, it's going to release and have a hormone, it's going to trigger our hormones, and it's going to release adrenaline and it's going to release cortisol. Now, cortisol particularly is a fat storage hormone. So if you are constantly breathing through your mouth, your system, though you may not notice, is going to be in a slightly elevated state. It's going to be in a flight or flight mode, and your hormones are going to be responding to this amygdala directed signal to keep you safe. So it's going to release adrenaline and it's going to release cortisol. Cortisol elevated levels is a fat storage hormone. If you're constantly stressed under the fight or flight mode, your cortisol level is going to be elevated and your ability to shift fat is going to be much harder. So there are three very important little aspects to breath work. In future videos, I'm going to be talking about how we can practice our breathing, because the key here is not to do it once in a while. We want our brain to be taught to default to nasal breathing pretty much all of the time. So I'll come up with some ideas about how we can do that. Now, the fourth point I really want to quickly touch on is that if we start practicing, or when we start practicing our breath work and we remind ourselves to breathe through our nose, the more we breathe through our nose and the more conscious we are breathing out our nose, we are meditating. And if we are meditating, which means we're focused on our breath, our brain is not going to be in the future, it's not going to be in the past, because that's where they are. Future is that way, past is that way. If we are conscious and we're mindful of our breath work and we're breathing through our nose and we're mindful of our breath work, we are meditating. So what a great combination of habit stacking. We can practice that meditation by our breathing. At the same time, we can improve our nitrous oxide production. We can become calmer. We can become more virile. We can become much healthier in terms of the pathogens not coming through our nose. There are so many benefits to nasal breathing. So like I said, I'm going to talk about some ideas and some strategies and some reminders about how we can start bringing our mind back into the present moment to think about nasal breathing at all times. Okay, that's me. Ask yourself again, am I a nose breather or am I a mouth breather? And I can guarantee you, once you start getting that process and reminding yourself to breathe through your nose, not only are you going to become calmer, not only are you going to feel better, but you are going to reap the rewards of what we should be and how we should be breathing, which is through our nose and out through our mouth. Again, have any questions? Do not hesitate to let me know. That's this week's short little video on breathing. Next one will come out in a few days' time. If you have any questions, let me know. Please feel free to add any comments to the section boxes, wherever that may be. I will add some links below to some very good books that I've read. One by Patrick McEwen, The Oxygen Advantage, and another one by James such and such called Breath, and some other bits and pieces. So if you have any questions, let me know and I'll speak to you soon. Ciao.